just say that the meeting is starting now, which is at 11:09 a.m. And the first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes. I finally got them, December 7th, 21st, and the 11th. Oh, failed to send. Oh, shoot.
I had technical difficulty with that COA board, even after we talked to Cindy and she worked on it. I sent a number of things out thinking in good faith everyone got them. It doesn't send you that mailer Damon thing that they didn't get sent. And so anyway, I'm just not using it anymore. That's my policy. I've talked about it before, and I'm just going to put individual town emails in all of my minutes and stuff because that seems the most reliable.
Yeah, and I was looking at the Dropbox today, and I guess it's clear why you can't get to it, because you don't have permissions in them, and I've lost how to add you, and I don't know, but I'll figure out something else. Maybe we'll use Google Docs or something, because it really is handy.
Yeah, I've had trouble with the Dropbox as well.
Yeah, I'm calling Dennis the old-fashioned way now. Hello? He's not answering. Oh, well. Dennis? Hello? I mean, it stopped ringing, but I can't hear anything.
Now, maybe he's in the middle of something.
I mean, Dennis, if you are listening to me, we're having our COA meeting right now. Oh, okay. You can hear what's happening. Okay. All right. So I guess we'll just go forward. Anyway, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 9th, 21st, and January 11th?
I so move.
Okay, I second. All in favor? Janine? You muted, says, I'm sure she says aye because she wrote them. Carol?
Yes, I do.
Aye. Okay, so unanimously we've approved the minutes. Okay, now for the director's report. Can you speak to us, Katie? Or are you still in transit?
Sure. Yeah, I'm just talking to Dennis right now, so he's trying to get on the call.
Oh, okay, good.
Could someone read me the phone number for him to dial in over the phone, and then I will read that to Dennis.
Sure.
Repeat it.
929
9
205
05
6099.
099. And that's the phone dial-in number, Carol?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the phone number. All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye. All right, so he's gonna dial in, just sat down at my desk. Okay, so he's going to.
Now we can see you.
Shortly.
Okay.
Actually, I'm in my office by myself. I can take that off now.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so we're on the agenda item that says director's report.
Great. So as far as a kitchen update, after the overall cost of the project got to be quite large, the town manager and capital planning committee decided not to pursue that any further, but there is support for us to add funds into the operating budget to fund a meal program with the constraints of our existing kitchen. There's been a couple of updates since I issued the director's report, so I'll probably put out a revised one. But we hit that point where I knew we were going to hit. We said, the Board of Health was being quite kind and generous as we were trying to, spend our COVID grant funds and working with us as far as those temporary permits. But as we worried, or as I worried, that wouldn't go on indefinitely. So Bridget and I talked and emailed back and forth, I should say. And it really needs to be confined to special occasions, seasonal type events. I think once a month I could probably get away with, but not for the Wednesday and Thursday meal every week. That's not, that's kind of circumventing the food code, and that's not going to work long term. So Robert and I talked, and we're going to tweak the budget a little bit to account for what we really can do in this new kitchen, and whether or not 20 to 25 hours of a nutrition coordinator is still necessary, or whether there's a different distribution of hours or duties that would make the most sense. As I mentioned in the director's report, I do still need, for the times that we do file, Dennis is in the background asking for the meeting ID. I'll give that to him in just, hang on, let me text him. The wonders of technology.
I have the meeting ID.
Yeah, I'm here now.
Today's a particularly unstellar technical day.
Yeah. Let's see.
Did you want the meeting ID?
She's got it.
Okay,
Oh,
there we go.
got it.
All right.
Okay.
So I would still love any suggestions that people have for things that they love to eat that involve no browning of things on the stove first, because even with my temporary 1-day permit, I still can't do that. So I'm thinking things like baked chicken, or soups and salads still fall under those categories. So if anybody has a recipe or something they want to share, that would be great. And I'm thinking about actually incorporating that idea into the newsletter on an ongoing basis, to have that's kind of a catchy name, like a casserole share, where people love the things that they've made previously in their life, but it's just not practical to make it for 1 or 2 people anymore when it makes food for 8. So
I have a quick question, Katie. So will the oven be able to reach the proper temperature? You said it was only doing well enough to sort of kind of heat something. So that's going to be upgraded?
So now that we know that this is the direction we're going in, I will look into addressing the oven in more detail.
Okay.
I just wasn't spend a lot of money getting that oven repaired if it was just going to come out in 4 months. So let's see. Yeah, so then that's the last update with the Board of Health. And then the first, sorry, go ahead.
So you're asking for recipes. I mean, could you do something like a potluck where people bring in food?
Possibly. I need to talk to the Board of Health about that. There are different rules that go along with the Board of Health. But yes, I think so. That's a great suggestion. Let me follow up with Bridget on that and see. And what's nice about that actually is that would target a different lunch consumer than the person who comes for a mock lunch, or a person who comes for a free meal. And one of my goals is to make sure that there are so many different little pockets of seniors to make sure that we're, being resourceful and helpful to all of them. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you. Let's see. The first public budget forum included our nutrition coordinator position, and that went over well. There was public comment, but nothing on that position. So I consider that to be great. The next public budget forum will be held on March 16th. So, which is my birthday. So I'll be eating birthday cake on that meeting. Then let's see, in terms of, this is the first opportunity for me to present my statistics. And this is something that I'll be doing as a part of each of my monthly reports. And there is one change based on what is written on the director's report, because so the total number of seniors that were in attendance in January is 70. I believe it says 34 there. I just, when I wrote it, I didn't have the 2 delivery meals in the system. So, so it was 70 seniors, And an unduplicated number means how many different people came in. So 70 different people were served by the senior center for meals or programs in January. The total event sign-in duplicated is 289. And what that means is that there were 289 sign-ins for meals and programs. So that takes into account, for example, the 4 people who come to my Monday morning exercise. They're coming 8 times a month. So they appear 32 times in that duplicate. So what that number shows, we're serving 70 seniors, which is what I would consider to be the very floor and where we're going up from there. But then into that between your unduplicated and your duplicated means that you are not just seeing them once, you're seeing seniors on a regular basis, which I think is a good sign. So that means that we are part of their weekly routine, which is what we want. Then there were a total of 430.5 programming hours offered in January, which I think is a great number. And that number will fluctuate over time as I take away programs that are not successful. And so that includes even some of our programs. For example, some people asked for poker, and I have poker on the calendar twice a month for an hour, but no one has shown up. So that total programming hours includes, it doesn't differentiate between well-attended and not well-attended programs. But over time, like I said, those will cycle in and out if something is not well-attended, and we've made it through a spring or a fall season, which are the 2 most highly attended seasons at senior centers, and still no interest, then I will take it off and replace it with something else. And then those statistics don't count the approximately 35 Meals on Wheels clients that we have and 70 van riders. Some overlap between the 70 and center. There's not a lot of overlap on Wheels clients and
Can I interject a moment? That
Sure.
I think there's background noise interfering. And so when Katie talks, sometimes it's coming in and out for me. So I'm just wondering if for the minutes, if some of these numbers will appear someplace that people can look them up. I'll just mention that you're keeping statistics, but where else would they appear?
So that they're in my report. Do you have my director's report?
Oh, I do, but I don't have it in front of me. Okay, so you're just reviewing the director's report.
I'm just reviewing.
Perfect, then I don't have to put all the numbers down, thanks.
No. And I will send out an amended version of this for those updates that I had. And then for the building that
You are, this is difficult because you are cutting in and out. Do you hear cutting in and out as I'm speaking?
Yeah,
No,
this
it's
is
because
Dennis.
of
Yeah,
the
for me,
background noise. It's because of background noise with Katie that it's doing something to her mic. It's trying to filter it out or something.
Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to 2 seconds. I'm going to put my coat on and I'm going to go sit in my car because I can't do anything about the background noise here in the center. That's one. We need a new building is because there is
Exactly. Yes.
Dennis,
or anything. So just 1 second, I'm going to go hop in my car. If Janine, or I'm sorry, Carolyn, if there's anything else that you want to move on and then I can come back, that's fine.
okay, well, let's see.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Dennis. Just briefly, I missed the first part where the issue around the town manager recommending that we not move forward with renovating the existing kitchen.
Right. So they're working on ways to serve the community, and I mean, I don't think she said anything that wasn't in her report.
Okay.
There were alternate ways to serve the community. She was going to put out a request for people to send in recipes. Or, and then we talked a little bit about maybe potluck.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why it was that because when we crunched the numbers last meeting or the meeting before, the total cost over 2 years, let's say, for the meals to be, well, although that I guess was brought in. So I guess the takeaway from that decision by the town manager and presumably the Board of Selectmen is that upgrading the quality of the meals in order to encourage improved attendance was not considered to be sufficient to outweigh the additional financial cost.
Well, so Dennis, I think this is a kind of a tricky situation where I think there was buy-in by capital planning and by the town manager to improve the dining program. And I think that to make that happen, but just as each stage of the code went along, it just became a larger and larger project. And given that it's a space that will only be in hopefully another 3, and it's all the town doesn't own, that really weighed, I think, into their decision how much to invest in the kitchen, because it's not like the town could use it for something else afterwards. And then at not the last, but the second to last capital planning meeting, Lisa Gabri brought up whether or not, because it had gone over a certain amount and it would definitely be borrowed rather than taken from the existing funds. And I hope I'm summarizing that correctly. But that would trigger another issue with whether you could borrow on something that you don't own. So I just think that there were a lot of hurdles there. I'm disappointed, but I'm not terribly surprised. I mean, for the $35,000 to $50,000 that we originally thought, it was a no-brainer, and I think everyone thought it was a no-brainer. But once you got up to that other level, it was just getting to be too much.
Okay, and did they talk at all about how much money would be available to improve the food service, or your work around there for the next 2.5, 3 years, let's say? The total amount of dollars that they think are available, or?
Right, I'm now in my car, so I don't have I don't have the budget sheet right in front of me, but when we were doing the worksheets, preparing for the budget, I think I asked for between $10,000 and $15,000 for that part of the meal program. I can't remember off the top of my head what that number ended up being. I think it was the 15 that went fully in.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I would fully support, making that as big enough, without being profligate, that number be, that we err on the side of providing nutritious, high quality, desirable meals in order to, increase attendance. Just to let you know that I would be happy to talk with whomever to try to encourage that to happen,
Great.
Going forward.
So, it's kind of a sticky issue, and I popped into town hall yesterday and was discussing it with Robert, and just to put some numbers around it, some context. So a mock meal is $3 per person, a suggested donation of $3 per person. That's obviously not what it is, but that's a government underwritten program. Typically, your centers, just for the sake of consistency, even when they're doing a homemade meal, make it $3 or maybe $5. I mean, you can't even go through the drive-through at McDonald's for under $10, right? So these are reasonably priced meals that are not going to carry themselves. They require subsidizing by the town in order to make work. But given the our kitchen, I can't chop vegetables and make a frugal casserole for $3 a head that would make our meal program self-sustaining. I have to bring in takeout or take and bake or catered meals, and therefore it's very difficult I mean, you come nowhere near that at $3 or even $5 a head. And for some of our seniors, even that $3 is a financial reach. Not all of them, but for a certain portion. So it's a balancing act. So, and I'm happy to say that so far, town hall and the financial committees have all been very supportive of our efforts.
I just wanted to interject that something like $3 or $5 for a lot of people is fine, but there are some people in Ayer that it is not fine. And so in the past, they called it a donation.
Mhm.
So that way, if somebody wanted to come and they couldn't pay, there was not a big fuss made out of it. They just
Right.
were welcome to still come. So I just wanted to hope that that could continue.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thanks for clarifying that. I have a better understanding now.
Okay, is there more from the report that you want to talk about? Dennis, I should tell you, I need to leave at noon. So is there more from the
Oh,
report
sure,
you
yeah.
want to talk about?
The only other things that I had from the report is the building committee. So I don't know if you want to handle me to talk about that now, or if there's, it's also in item
Yeah.
6. You can wait for that if you'd
Yeah,
like.
it's on the- yeah. So, yeah, and item 4 was next steps for the kitchen. I guess we've talked about that. You're going to now try to get the oven fixed.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, the annual report. Let's see, I have not done my part. Let's see, Sister Paula was gonna do the part before I came on the board, or Janine, were you gonna do that?
I believe Sister Paula was going to be involved. I've been having so much trouble with the town email. I keep saying I've stopped using the COA board thing. So I did
Yeah.
send around a couple of days ago the blurb that was in last year's, and also the mission statement that
Right.
I don't think was ever finalized. So I sent what had been the mission statement that Sister Paula gave me like quite a while ago. And then I edited it a little bit to make it, I felt like a little bit more comprehensive and readable. So I don't know if the mission statement would be something you would want to put in the annual report. Or
Well, I
go
think
someplace
not
else.
until we have, as a board, reviewed it, and let's put that under the new business. So if we have time, we'll talk about the mission statement then. Okay, so now we're down to 6, the news center update. So I'm really anxious to hear what happened at the building meeting.
Dennis, do you want to take this? I mean, I put a summary in the director's report, but do you want to give us a summary of the meeting and what you think are the priorities?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first, I review the director's report. I would, I know that we've talked in some detail. We talked in some detail about the West Main Street site, which is, obviously publicly available information resulting from the previous town meeting proposal. Katie, I'd encourage you, and again, I don't know if I'm being a little too particular about this, but perhaps from the director's report, deleting your specific reference to locations that were considered or being looked at.
I talked to Carly yesterday with that specific topic, and I said, what is executive session, what is not, and what can I and should I not share on the COA board meetings, knowing they are public record and recorded. And the advice that I got was that we could mention the road or the location, but not specifically the address per se. And once we get to a place where
we'll go
on something under contract, then obviously no mention of those specific details.
I see. Okay. All right. Fair enough. We'll go with that. In terms of the building committee, so we talked about the constraints around West Main Street and what's been done to determine the levels of pollution there and whether or not it's a viable, continues to be viable. And I also, just to let you know, I talked with Lori Naring, who has quite a bit of history with that particular site and the contamination involved. So from the building committee, it appears that that site still remains somewhere in contention. The building committee asked that the town, in the person of Dan Shalwick, the town engineer, that he look through the files and look to hire what's called a land site assessor or a land site investigator who would be able to review the files and at least at initial review determine whether or not remediation would be possible and what future steps would need to be taken in order to make the ground safe for occupancy, or however that's described. In talking with Lori Naring from PACE, it was her clear suggestion that we proceed very cautiously because the level of contamination and the toxicity of the contamination that was previously seen is very problematic, and exactly what would be needed to make it safe has not been determined. So that's kind of where it's at. So the next steps with regard to that particular lot is that Dan will be getting the files together and the land site investigator perhaps hired in order to kind of give us a fuller understanding as to whether or not we should put it on or off the list. I think that one of the reasons that the site remains is, yes, there is a town consideration, and Lori mentioned this, it would be nice to have that site cleaned up, regardless of what's there. But also the fact that the site, from talking with the architect, it looks like the minimum acreage necessary, they're talking an acre and a half, maybe 2 acres at the outside is what you would want in order to have a one-story building, similar to what the architectural drawings that we saw. So that's kind of, that's a significant constraint given the available land and needing 1.5 acres. And so that's where we are with that. The other sites that are under consideration, Katie and I drove past some of them and took a look. Those, one in particular, would appear to be quite promising in terms of location and size. And I think Robert is looking in more detail and talking with Mass Development about what it would take to, to make something come together with some of those lots. Are there other things, Katie, that I missed there in terms of next step?
No, I think that's right. I mean, I think that they're wanting to determine, the committee's wanting to determine definitive whether to move forward with West Main Street or not, are taking the steps to make sure that that decision can be made one way or the other. And then, like you said, looking at other options.
Yep.
As
So one thing that Robert mentioned is that they would like to see, or he said that they would like to see some kind of move forward to be done within like 60 days or at the end of 60 days. And Robert mentioned the hiring of a real estate person of some sort who would drive the process. That is, would come up with the nature of the lot and negotiate the price and work through the budget things, and so that we would have a definitive, proposal and amount of money needed within 60 days. That seems like a heavy lift from where I'm sitting now.
I think the person that you're referring to is more of a project manager than a
Okay.
realtor.
Okay, and can all that be done before town meeting approval? I suppose, or he wouldn't be talking about it.
Mhm. I think that's the impetus for the timeline is moving it forward to the point that you can get something, get a filed if that's what you want, if that's what the committee wants, and hope by that point.
Now, I
Yay.
wanted to bring up something from the meeting. Katie was given an assignment to go talk to one of our neighboring towns. Is that something that you can talk about a little, if it's relevant and if it's allowed?
Yeah, sure. I went to speak with the COA director at Harvard, Debbie Thompson, and kind of went over the process with her a little bit. Their existing building, and ended up that time. This is not that background noise.
All right, whose background noise is it this time?
It might
not
be
his.
Dennis. Dennis,
think-
can you?
Yeah, that might be me. I just got into the car.
Oh, yeah, I heard the dinging.
So, so I spoke with her a little bit about that process. They kind of fast tracked it as well. So they put out a request for proposals for land, to acquire land, and that is, I shared those specific with the building committee as example, and they're going to take a look at that. And I think it's really going to come down to what the environmental consultant says about the West Main Street property, about whether that's something that is going to be able to be remediated to a degree that is going to satisfy the public need for that, right? So, and that hopefully would be fairly clear, their opinion on the matter. So, we're still unsure whether that RFP is something that would need to be done in Ayer or not, but we have the specific documents that were used, and yeah, I mean, so it's always helpful to get input from other towns, from people who have been through the process before, and have a
And
good
they succeeded. They found a great building at a reasonable price and reasonable renovations, and it passed at town meeting in
Mhm.
Harvard. So it really is kind of exciting to have that kind of success so nearby. I also wanted to bring up something that's come up a few times over the past few years, which is exploring the edges of Devons that are in the Ayer footprint, as Robert referred to it as. And he did say he's been starting a conversation about that. So I think that's really encouraging news, because it could hold potential.
Mhm.
So, I mean, one thing I wanted to, add to the environmental discussion at the building committee, and in talking with some of the members of the committee, the use of the West Main Street site, is in presenting it at town meeting and having people comfortable with the town acquiring it and building it, is a pretty, that's a lot to jump over for the building committee and for the senior center. That is, given the history at that site, given the costs involved, I at the building committee, I mentioned that in order to gain public support for that, it's going to be a heavy lift, and that. So what I would say is that while we continue to explore the viability of that particular site, we should be kind of opening our minds, as Janine has pointed out, and looking at alternative sites which might be viable and obtainable. Because the concerns that I've heard expressed from a number of people about, using that site for a senior center. They're deeply embedded and not without, clear justification. And I think it's going to be a lot to try to overcome that.
I think that's exactly right. And I would just like to add that the more I hear about the extent of the contamination that it has entered the groundwater, and the person from Abacus said he knows a similar site that they remediated it pretty well. It's not really sounding very encouraging. And I feel like the senior center is just so important that our priority should not be to piggyback urban renewal or cleanup on our senior center. I mean, if it works out that we can clean it to everyone's satisfaction and it all works out, that's fine. But it shouldn't be the priority. The priority should be our clients. And the more I keep hearing about this, it really may not be surmountable to clean it up well enough to have a senior center.
Well, I think
Yeah.
no matter what the building committee decides, we are going to have our work cut out for us to meet with people, the people that speak up in town meeting, to really support the building committee and their decision. And we'll just have to do a lot of discussion, talking, maybe have some open meetings about this before town meeting. I don't want to go into town meeting like last time where we're surprised at what people say. I mean, we know basically, the people who speak the most at town meeting, and we just need to reach out to them first and sell the program. That's all.
No,
Lori,
I
Mary.
agree. And I think, and I spoke with Lori today, and she is happy to, and she is happy to come to a COA meeting, and discuss these in more detail, in the public setting. And, her concerns as part of PACE are well, are public knowledge. And clearly we would want a pretty proactive, regardless of which site it is, because there is no perfect site.
Right.
That is, and there are going to be costs involved. So regardless of what site it is, a preemptive public relations campaign prior to town meeting to get input from any and all stakeholders, to make sure, the people who are most likely to have a dog in the fight, are heard from and their concerns are addressed. I think that's going to be important, and and I'm happy to do that. I think if we're able to get the environmental folks, to the extent that the site will be relevant to them, is going to be important, and also get some of the seniors who will be using the center to get their input. That's all going to be to the good.
Great. Okay. I think we probably talked as much as we can about the new senior center. Let's see, there's on Thursday, February 28th, there's the boards and commission know your responsibility training. And I got an email, and I sent it out to everybody. So is anyone planning to go to that?
Yeah, I'd like to go to
Yes,
that. Do you have to, is it an in-person meeting or a Zoom?
I'm assuming it's Zoom.
Yeah, I am too. Okay. Yeah, I'm planning on attending.
Carolyn, I was curious if you have any sense of how valuable it might be for us, since you've been involved with the town, for quite a while.
I have no idea. I don't think I've been to one of these.
Okay.
Carol, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, I'd like to attend.
Okay.
No,
I'm
I
an
have,
80.
I think it's going to,
MCOA trainings are very practical and very useful. And they really help fill in the gaps in knowledge. One of the challenges of COA boards is that there are limited terms. And so you have people that come on and off the board, and circumstances change, rules change, things like that. And so it really can help us be even more efficient and more effective as a board. So I would highly recommend it.
Okay, well, in that
definitely
light,
need
I
it.
plan to attend too. I just didn't really know if it, too much about it, if it was even worth it. So thank you, Katie.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, then we were talking about last time, the branding name. And we said that we wanted Ayer Senior Center. Did anyone come up with a logo?
I had submitted some logos in the past. I think branding is really, it's got to almost be a longer discussion. I don't think you can really make up your mind in 10 minutes. I think I think we've all talked about the name as the Ayer Senior Center, but as far as artwork and that kind of a thing, I did send some things, and I can send some more that I worked on a couple of years ago. But I think we need to probably take some time and think about, do we want it to be colored? Do we want it to be black and white? What's more recognizable? What's more appealing? Whatever. I just think I don't think we can rush it in the next 5 minutes.
No, I mean, I agree. I was just wondering, since I had put out the question last time, does anyone want to create a sample logo, whether somebody had,
Well, I have, and I've sent them, and I can resend them. And if anybody else wants to chip in too. Yeah, look, Carol's holding it up.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I like them.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, we'll put that on the agenda for next time, since we do have an abbreviated meeting. And we wanted to talk about the mission statement. Let's see if I can bring it up.
I have it.
Okay, do you want to read it?
Sure. The current one or Janine?
Why don't you read Janine's?
Okay. Air Council on Aging mission statement. The Air Council on Aging is a service department for members of the community 60 years of age or older. We provide comprehensive information and quality service to help seniors and their caregivers. Our goal at the Air COA is to empower individuals and families to make life choices that will ensure a life of dignity, health, and respect. We provide activities to bring together our senior citizens in a safe and nourishing environment. The Air Council on Aging strives for excellence, integrity, and innovation through teamwork.
I had taken the mission statement draft from a couple of years ago and just reworded it a little bit.
Mhm.
Janine, thank you for doing that. I think that the verbiage, not verbiage, but the tone of it from the first one was very casual and not fitting of a mission statement. I think you've captured the essence of that and put it into a much more professional cadence. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're
I
quite
agree.
welcome. Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Good. So now we just have to feel like, where would we put it? Does it go in the annual report? Where does it get publicized, so to speak, or utilized?
Well, I think you'd want to put it on the landing page for the Council on Aging on the website, and then in the annual report.
So I would suggest that it go on the website in the newsletter. I can find a little spot, at the bottom of one of the pages for it. I would not include it in the annual report. the annual report is really what you've been doing. So the mission statement is something that should be general and overarching, and we have only what, a half a page? Is that the limit for the Council on Aging?
A page.
A
One
page?
Yeah,
But maybe we can fit it in if we have a full page.
yeah.
Yeah, in the past, we had a whole page allotted, but there was only a half page of text. So we do have more room to spare.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you, Janine.
Oh,
Janine,
well,
thank
thank you, Carol. You're such a sweetie.
I also think that we need sort of a slogan or something taken from that is smaller that will go on the newsletter, Air Council on Aging, a place for us to grow old together, not,
But one of the things I played around with my, with the COA on the logo page that Carol has, is if you take COA and put it along the side, I put caring, opportunities, and activities. So I don't know if there's a place for that too. Someplace, I don't know, on the newsletter. And it's not as long as what Carolyn just said, but it kind of cuts to the heart of it.
What were those again? I'm just writing that down. Caring, what?
Caring, opportunities, and activities. And like, the kids used to do this in school, Katie, you probably remember. They would take a word and you put it vertically on the left, and then you put words that relate to it. There's a name for it, which I can't think of right now.
Mnemonic? No.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up.
Well, I think that, yeah, I mean, I think maybe we could play with that a little bit. COA, community, the acronym, community, opportunity. The G is a little difficult, but gracefully,
A.
I don't know.
It's an A.
Oh, A, you're right. Yeah, community, opportunity.
I put activities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
activity
yeah.
Activities. Plural.
or active. Yeah,
Activities is what I put, because
activity.
that's a big part of what Katie's working on right now.
Right.
A lot of activities. If only we could get food in there. I don't know.
Oh, that's part of community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, community is good. I like community opportunities and activities.
Yeah.
I think
Now, do
there's
we
a lot.
have to adjourn in a minute? Or are we going to continue?
Yeah. I mean, I
So,
have to, leave. If you all want to continue, that would be fine. You still have a quorum.
So one thing, one thing that I was thinking, and I'm not exactly sure how to find this out, but thinking about the building committee and the land acquisition costs, et cetera, one thing that occurred to me is that I have no idea what the ultimate budget ought to be, or or would be acceptable, or how much any of these things might cost, from, all in. And I think it would be helpful for us to have some idea of, and again, whether Katie, you have friends in the, colleagues who have built one recently, but, I think looking out over the next 3 to 4 years, if we have an understanding of what the budget ultimately will need to be, then we're not going to be in a position of, the town feeling blindsided that the land cost X and then you needed Y for the building, and then Z came up for unexpected costs, and now all of a sudden you're getting pushback from the town that, it's a lot more expensive than anybody ever thought. So
Well, part of the reason why
I'm going
there's.
to ask,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Dennis.
I think it has something to do with the budgeting process that, you know, these are numbers that you don't know up front and you can only proceed incrementally. And I don't know exactly how all that works, but, you know, I think I'm going to ask Robert, you know, in his mind, you know, how big do these numbers get? And is that, you know, how do we kind of manage that expectation going forward? I mean, one thing that would be helpful is to know other seniors centers that have been built in the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years, you know, and just, you know, two rough numbers. What were the land acquisition costs and what were the building costs?
Well, you
And-
know,
and
there's
just kinda have
two
those.
senior centers very near us that could be models. Groton just completed theirs a couple of years ago, and Harvard is in the middle of the process. Because Dennis, I think you really hit on the missing piece of this whole puzzle. And they have not really talked about price very much. And that could be a clear difference in one property over another. For example, a couple of the places on Devon's that Robert brought up, those possibly could be extremely cheap if not donated to the town. And a couple of them are really nice, as opposed to trying to make West Main Street work with millions of dollars of remediation. It could be the cost, once we start bringing that into the formula, is really going to clarify which is the better site.
Well, I think that's
No,
part of
yeah,
don't hear that right now. Why you don't hear specific numbers floating around is because each and every town has very different factors when they are looking at it. Is it land that they already own that they're repurposing? Is the building already on the site, or are you starting from scratch? Are you in a town where land is plentiful or where land is scarce? You know, what is the tax base in a town and how comfortable are they with debt exclusion items? Those things all vary from town to town. I think there's certainly a range of prices, but as soon as you put a number out there, then you've put expectations that it's going to be somewhere around that number. And so I think it's tempting to want to box it in right away. But I would say until we have a site selection in place, it would be unwise to say, oh, well, maybe this project would be this much. That number will come, but it will come after the site is selected and we already have the drawings. So somewhere around is a number for that drawing. But building costs, think about even, through the pandemic, have skyrocketed. And then there's always that factor of money will be, something will be budgeted now, and then there's a whole process of an additional town meeting, and then construction can go up and up and up from there, from the time that it is spec'd out to the time that it is built. So it's a really complex equation getting that done. So while it's interesting to want to put a number out, X number.
Well, I find it interesting, Katie, that I understand everything you're saying, and it is true that different towns have different availabilities and so forth. But to be able to start to say, pare it down as they tried to before with, say, the 6 sites, but to pare it down and then start to look at the cost before you make the selection, I think it could really cut to the chase of one that's really
I gotta
better.
leave, guys. Bye.
Okay, bye, Carolyn.
okay, bye, Carolyn. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about, I understand Katie's point now. I see it better now. So I'm not, I guess it would be helpful. Well, we'll see, I guess, to be continued. I don't know that those numbers are, those numbers probably are not available now.
So for example, I'm looking at the Neshoba Valley Voice. That the Groton Senior Center, the building cost $5.4 million.
Okay.
And it
Wow.
occupies a former PFW building. The land was a former W. So this does not, whether presumably that was private. So it does not say here, it says the building was that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's the land and the building or just the building.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
it is
I
an
mean, and
interesting, I'm glad Dennis brought up cost though, because I think it's an interesting strategy of where to start bringing cost into the equation. If you've already chosen the site, then maybe it wasn't the best time to bring it up. Maybe it should have been when we're down to 2 or 3, you know, really getting close. And if we find out a nice flat piece with accessibility to the main road is available either free or for a stipend, as opposed to say West Main Street, which is going to have to be purchased and remediated beyond belief. I mean, it could turn out that will really clearly point to one over the other. But when do we bring in the cost? I guess that is my question after hearing what Edie had to say.
Yeah, I don't think we know that yet. Until there's a specific site and development costs for that site. I don't think, you know, because, and again, I don't, you know, if the lot is flat, it'll be less expensive. If it needs a lot of fill, if it's raw land as opposed to needing, you know, a building torn down. I think that in the absence of a specific lot or lots that you're comparing, you know, the variability is too high to make an informed decision. You know, I think that's probably where folks are at with, you know, if you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what you're talking about. And, you know, right now, I don't think the building committee would know. You know, my suggestion is simply that when we do know, that is, we as the Council on Aging should be not necessarily looking to win every individual battle, but rather win the war. And by the war, I mean, at the end of the day, we have, you know, a new senior center built. And in order to do that, you know, 3 or 4 years out, we're going to have to, every step of the way, be able to kind of win that, you know, win the ultimate prize. And again, what I would say is that in order to kind of inform the public and gain public support for what we're trying to do, being aware of the costs and being honest about the costs and you know, letting folks know the advantages to assuming those costs. You know, I think that we will have better luck at town meeting, you know, meetings, I guess I should say, going forward.
Hope is that in another meeting of the building committee, 2 at the most, that hopefully we will have enough of a sense of what's going on with Main Street and perhaps one alternate site, that we will actually have something to compare in terms of cost and to see if they are similar or vastly different. And then that will steer a final decision from there.
That's interesting.
Because, you know, I think at some town meeting, I can easily imagine, you know, the people who tend to be involved and engaged, asking questions about, well, did you look at, or did you consider, or could you get it cheaper? Or, I mean, those questions are going to come up, and you know, to the extent possible, you know, hopefully we'll be in a position to answer them.
So Katie, as a follow-up on that request for proposal, is that just being tabled for now, or are they going to move forward with it? Because if we only have 1 or 2 more meetings, that it would need to be sent out soon.
Right. So that's something that I think we need to follow up with via email and figure out if we think that if the building committee, I say we, if the building committee feels that the West Main is either viable or not viable based on the consultant's report, and then these other sites that have been identified either work out or don't work out for their various reasons, right? That would kind of drive whether or not they decide that they want to do an RFP. I think right now there's a couple of good options on the table. So I got the sense that this options need to be narrowed rather than broadened. That's not my specific opinion, but that's the opinion that I heard. So so that's, I think, sort of where we are.
Well, I have not heard that before, so that's interesting that they want to narrow it rather than open it up. And
Right.
I guess my thinking on it was that Harvard ended up with a place that they never even knew was available until they went through that process.
Yeah, and so I think that will come down to whether the building committee feels like the sites that they've identified already include a winner, or if they don't include a winner. And if they include a winner, then there's not a need to go with an RFP. If they don't, then it's, it's sort of like when I buy a piece of furniture, I personally need to sit on all of the couches before I decide like which couch.
I'm just like you on that, absolutely.
But
No, I know. Which is why shopping for furniture online, I can't quite do it. You
We
can't,
tried
unless
it.
you sit in the
We tried
chair.
it.
right. So I think
And-
it's difference of approach. No, it's not right. One's not right or wrong. So everyone, I'm going to have to hop off now. Debbie needed to leave early today, so I need to help with meal delivery. So thank you guys so much. And you guys still have a quorum. You don't need me. If you want to continue to talk, you can. But thank you so much. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Katie.
Well,
Bye.
personally, I move to adjourn. People are dropping out left and right. Let's
Yeah.
move
I
on.
second
Sure,
it.
no,
I
I think-
second.
I second. Well,
Okay,
third.
so-
All right.
Third,
We'll-
I third
We'll
it.
be adjourned at 12:11.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Thanks very much.